Football is here, and the games are on at Wing House Bar and Grill. Watch all the action with your friends and enjoy hot wings and perfectly poured cold beer. We have Budweiser and Bud Light draft pints for only $2.49 and buckets of 5 bottles for $12.99 every Saturday and Sunday. Get a taste of our limited time End Zone Eats menu with big, meaty pig wings. And nothing says game time more than a grilled bratwurst. This house was built on wings, cold beer, and football. Wing House Bar and Grill. Good food, beautifully served.
I told you they were following you. I told you they are after you. Because you tell the truth. You don't cover their lies. They are your death threat, death threat, death threat. They are your death threat, death threat, death threat. They are your death threat, death threat, death threat. But I have news for them. I will keep on saying what they do, all the lies they keep, and all the bodies they hide. They are your death threat, death threat, death threat. They are your death threat, death threat, death threat. They are evil, they are scum. They are your death threat, down the line. They are your death threat, death threat, death threat. They are your death threat, death threat, death threat. They are your death threat, death threat, death threat. One day there will be justice. One day there will be peace. One day there will be another way. But for now, I have death threats. They are your death threat, death threat. They lie about me. They cry into me. They hide from me. They see what I possess. They hide away. Death threat. For now, death threat. I told you they were following you. I told you they were after you. Because you tell the truth. Because your voice is heard. You want a better world. They are your death threat, death threat, death threat. They are your death threat, death threat, death threat. They are your death threat, death threat, death threat. Death threat, death threat, death threat. They are your death threat, death threat, death threat. They are your death threat, death threat, death threat. They lie about me. They pry into me. They hide from me. They seek what I possess. They slide away.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the Porthole to Justice. This is Amelia Duran, your host. It is January 12th, 2018. Welcome. I am having my show today, or I want to mention that is Patricia Daniel, and you can find her music on Spreaker.com under Zeph Daniel Music. And Okay, so today's show, let me get to the good stuff. I have a great guest on for you guys today. Her name is Katrina Hagen, and we're going to be talking about digital espionage and targeting and digital surveillance, human trafficking, targeting of mothers and children. So let me get her on with me, and we'll get right into it. Stand by. You're welcome to join the live chat.
Hello.
Hi, good morning. You are live.
Oh, how exciting. Nice.
So I was up really late. You know, I often don't sleep because I have this thyroid issue, and sometimes it keeps me awake, gives me incredible insomnia. And I came across your video. And your work, and I was floored. I was delightfully floored and impressed. And you, well, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was too when I found all of it out.
I think it's great.
Yeah. It was really interesting to find all that information. I was up all night also, the same way, making connection after connection on the tracer route. So it was pretty exciting. But yeah, now in the intro, did you tell them kind of like what I had found, or do you want me to go into that?
Well, I kind of lightly touched on, the digital targeting, and and, it goes into targeting mothers and children for purposes of human trafficking, basically. And what you came across really, it kind of, it puts it, I mean, it's really incriminating.
Yeah, it really is. And, well, what was interesting, well, I've been targeted for 7 years and could not figure out who I made mad, what I did. I didn't know. I'm an MK Ultra subject, from the time that I was young, and I figured it had something to do with that. And then as time had gone on, I would just, I would have people give me helpful information. And then last year, there was a woman on my Facebook that she was targeted, and she had also put like her tracer route pictures up, and she's like, I have nothing to do with these hops. And I'm like, what is that? So I went on and I checked mine too. And when you look at it, it's just a series of IP addresses that basically your IP address hops to, from point A to point B. I didn't know what I was looking at when I found it. And I started to kind of decipher it and look up each IP individually, and then I looked up the coordinates, and then I had even gone into like old IP addresses that I had, old cell phones that I had, and Facebook pages, because you can get an IP address on basically anything. Mm-hmm. So I started looking, and then I kept coming back to this adoption agency in Chicago, and it made sense then because I had kids in my family claiming I was going to have a baby. I had men calling me wanting to have a daughter with me. It was just very bizarre because I don't have kids, and I just don't really want them. It's not anything, but so then I had found out that I was being targeted for bloodline reasons. And then it kind of spun into where I was seeing other women who were being targeted, with similar abilities and bloodlines and stuff like that. And I had checked their tracer routes on their websites and found out that we had coordinating hops on our IP, and it all had to do with CIA. It had to do with Child Protective Services. It had to do with the Social Security Office, the IRS, all the government offices. The only one that I didn't have was FBI, which is kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. So, and it was really strange, but I found 4 or 5 other women in my experiments with this that basically had the same people watching them. Mm-hmm. So in that, I realized that women were being targeted even prior to them having kids and having discrediting, scams put on them, people, slandering their name, trying to disenfranchise their businesses, even before they had kids, so they could have it just basically primed and ready for when they did, if they, took the bait from one of the men that they sent in, that's basically part of the system.
I did an interview with George Webb, and he talks about the targeting, and and I actually talked to a whistleblower that works at the women's jails, and he came on my show as well, and we talk about the targeting and the false arrests, and this is to incur court fees and legal costs, and while they have you in those holding cells in there, they have other women in there to recruit the women into the trafficking, the prostitution. And so there's the targeting, though, starts at a very technical level. And so you've uncovered even a layer deeper.
Yeah, that it occurs even beforehand. And a lot of the other women, too, also came from being used in either like the pedophile rings when they were young, or the foster care system, or other systems, that basically kind of keep someone contained when they're young. There are still those kids that were put in the programs and that are also being the ones that are having the kids taken away from them when they're older. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty wild. I still can't believe it. I mean, and they're doing it well into our 40s. I mean, I just turned 40. Yeah. And they're still hardcore. They have everything that I own basically hacked. As I'm surveilled 24/7. It's nuts. But so are the other people that they've done this to. Yeah. So they're basically keeping us also in a prison, just not a regular one.
Until they isolate us, they alienate us, they recruit, family members. It's just weak people that, don't have character, integrity, or loyalty, and they'll do anything for money.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically about money. It's also, there's also an occult system to this too, because I guess what I found out in this, hole that I jumped down is that a lot of the people that are picked for this are picked when they're kids. Yeah. And they're just from their families, and it has to do with like an occult system. And these families get prestige for terrorizing and basically throwing out of society a family member. Yeah. And that's a lot of the targeting is. But they have to have a scapegoat going generationally, so that's why they like to take the child from, the mother who was a scapegoat, and then that child will be the scapegoat. Mm-hmm. Like my mom also was a scapegoat of the family. Mm-hmm. But she was basically, with them. She had taken the Kool-Aid with them. But as I looked at her life, I could see the same exact pattern of her being disenfranchised every turn that she made. Mm-hmm. So it's generational, for sure. Oh, yeah. So, yeah. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I kind of came up in that system. I grew up in Los Angeles in California, and my story is out there very publicly. My son and I sort of was raised in the whole pageant circuit, and then was being mentored and molded to go into the entertainment industry. And the more and more as I got older, and it just was not sitting right with me, and it, my inner core just knew that look, I've got to get out of this. I've got to get away from this. This is just eating my soul alive, So yeah, and that's how I came into it personally, myself.
Yeah.
So
I had the same thing, that inner voice, and and you don't really know what you're getting out of. You just know that whatever you're in, you just have to go.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? and then you find out later, you know,
it's so overwhelming. It's because it's so all encompassing, and it's really hard to like. Not only do you have to wrap your head around it, but you have to try and comprehend. Oh my God, these people are psycho.
I'm psycho. They're at a whole other level of like I didn't know if they were aliens. Like I didn't know what they were.
Yeah, it's so dark. It's really dark stuff. So yeah, so you kind of so I came across your video late at night, and you found this proxy information. So tell us more about your research.
Okay, so in my research, it's mostly with tracer routes. So if people don't really know what tracer routes are, you can go on Montis, MONITIS.com, and put a website in there or your IP address or, you know, any IP address, and it'll give you hops of everywhere between point A and B that your connection goes to. And people who have been targeted what I had found out is that Amazon.com, the CIA and Amazon have gotten together and they've created spy servers. And a lot of people, they're basically running the targeting system off of the Amazon spy servers. And they start with 5.4 or 5.2. So you can see who, you know, like if you have that on your hops, more than likely you've been targeted by that system, or someone's keeping an eye on you. Let me kind of see how
in your particular situation, you've actually been able to isolate exactly where they're targeting you from, and who these individuals are.
Yeah, I just went through all my perpetrators, people who I knew were perpetrators. I went through to their websites, got their IPs, and checked their tracer routes. And then all of a sudden, I had noticed that there was connections. Like we had similar, like the same numbers. So then it like you had said, then I ended up all night just checking everybody. And then I found out that people who were unrelated to each other were on the same Amazon server, and people who I hadn't even spoke with in 2 or 3 years, but seemed to know everything that I was doing, were also on these servers. So I guess everything that we do is uploaded in their clouds. Mm-hmm. It's pretty wild. It's hard to explain without a visual.
We're going to be featuring your content in the Porthole to Justice, and we're going to be publishing some documentation. And do you offer services for people that aren't technically savvy? You know, that are...
I would like to get together with somebody who knows what they're, professionally who knows what they're doing. But I've been so isolated and trying to get out of this because once you're in this, law enforcement's not going to help. No one's going to help, so you have to help yourself. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to teach people how to do this.
Yeah, because it could be a powerful tool in, some of these tort cases. I'm definitely willing to help you implement this and get it up and going, because there's a lot of targeted women and children in the port. They target women and children for trafficking, and they target the men to liquidate their assets. So this is a powerful tool, folks, that you can use to substantiate some of these claims.
Well, especially when they corroborate, and people that don't know each other are have the same hops, mm-hmm. That are coordinated with this. Apparently, I don't know, but it comes back to the CIA more than the FBI. Uh-huh. In every single in every single circumstance.
Well, I know for us in the Porthole to Justice, we've submitted a lot of content. A lot of the members have submitted a lot of content and evidence to the FBI, and they seem to be pretty much complicit with what's occurring. From what I've observed over the years, it's just my opinion, but I think that they're more complicit and more into the transportation of these trafficking victims. That's what it appears to me. Maybe George Webb could speak on that even further. I'd love to get you both together. That would be great.
Well, we would have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, his videos opened up I had a lot of bricks of information, and then his videos were the cement that brought it all together. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching, and I'm like, oh my God, what? That would make sense. So yeah, his information corroborates with mine also. Uh-huh. So yeah, I was just always trying to get in a safe place to talk about this, and but I'm followed like bad everywhere. If I go on the phone, they have a drone outside my house. Mm. I put videos on Facebook of it where you'll see I'll hang up and the drone will turn off.
I mean, they're not even really trying to hide it anymore. I mean, because they just, it's, plausible deniability, or they'll say, oh, she's crazy, to just, be dismissive and blow you off. Like, and it's horrific. It's horrific what they're doing.
I mean, they can, but with me, they can't anymore. Yeah. I mean, I if I come out and say something, it's because I have, that meme that says, if I say, first of all, I have screenshots, I have blood types, I have everything that's going to prove that I'm right. If I make a video, that's pretty much how it is. I'm going to be thoroughly prepared. I'm going to have screenshots, everything. So, my family is basically running this on me, and they're not that smart. So, we're working with higher people, to fund all this, but I keep catching them. So if they hadn't messed up so many times, I wouldn't have caught on to all of this.
You actually had someone come to your home from these organizations. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I had we won't say her name, but an HRC operative come to my house in July of 2017. They created this girl with the same story as me. She was about 28 years old. She was really forceful about friending me on Facebook. I figured she was just desperate for help. They seemed to be running a terror campaign on her. She was an MK Ultra victim too, and a ritual, abuse survivor. So I immediately was like, well, come here by me in Alabama when I was there, and let's team up and we can work together. And they knew basically with my psychology that if I saw a young girl going through that, I wouldn't even question it. I'd drop everything and help her. So she comes to my house, and from the minute that she got there, she acted kind of crazy. Like, she kept saying that my remote controls were directed energy weapons, all kinds of stuff. But I think she was acting over the top on purpose. Mm-hmm. Then she was there maybe 36 hours, and any time that I had gone to sleep, she had gone through every paper, every book, every cabinet, every single nook and cranny of that apartment. And I found that she had like papers of mine that I took notes on, but it was like nothing. And she goes, well, I might have to keep it as evidence. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I thought she was traumatized at first. Mm-hmm. And then she just took off. And then when she left, she had put on my iPad 3 different servers, and one of them was Hillary for America. And I have pictures of that on Facebook too, and emails from her admitting basically what she had done. Mm-hmm. So she was an operative from basically Hillary's camp. Her parents were friends with them. Mm-hmm. So it was one of the crazier things that happened. So,
and a lot of the targeting of the women and children that occur, they start out with, they are targeting these women even prior to them getting pregnant and having a child. They have already, they have it down to a science. Terrorize these women, break them or get them hooked on drugs, take the baby at the hospital. I mean, this is it's a setup from start to finish with some of these women.
Yeah, well, even who the father is too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they have to pick the correct father. You know, who's going to run the terror campaign on her also.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, everything. I mean, these, unfortunately, these girls end up just being unknown breeders. You know, they think they got married. They think, you know, maybe they're just like in an abusive relationship. Mm-hmm. And they don't realize that the level of deception really in their life is the magnitude is insane of what's really going on behind the scenes. I can peg it now. Whenever I see any situation in the news or whatever, I know when it's been something like this.
Yeah, me too.
Like always.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, it drives a lot of people crazy, and they're systematically terrorizing the people. And a lot of it comes from not just the CIA and Child Protective Service. Well, Child Protective Services is their favorite arm to terrorize with, but it also comes from the Bar Association. And you had mentioned something in one of your videos that I want to touch on, and that is about your phony birth certificate. The phony birth certificate. There was a lot of mistakes on the birth certificate that I never really paid attention to. And my grandmother is basically one of the ringleaders in this, and she's a notary. And when I was 16, she signed my Social Security card. And, you know, when you're 16 and, you know, you don't really question it because you don't understand. So during all of this, I had my birth certificate out and I had my Social Security card out. And I noticed that my mom's signature on the birth certificate looked exactly like my grandmother's signature on the Social Security card. So I started looking into that more, and I found out that the doctor's signature looked a lot like my grandma's too. Everything basically was forged, the whole thing. There were so many mistakes on it. My mother's age was wrong. It was like everything was wrong on there. Mm-hmm. My name wasn't in capital letters. So I tried to ask some family members, you know, if they knew anything about it. Of course, I got shut down immediately. But I've heard a lot of other people that were used in the programs having the same thing happen, where their birth certificates just seem to be forged. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I'd like to get to the bottom of that too, but... Well, I have somebody that I work with in the port that's actively exposing and filing some of these cases in the courts. Her name's Rexton Lotus Justice. You can find her on Facebook, and I'd like to introduce you to her as well. And maybe you can share with her more about these fraudulent documents. That is really concerning to me. And also it's concerning to me because if you just go on to some of these, like Missing Kids, LA.org, you know, they have these kids that are missing that are listed as runaways with no photo, and they're 1 and 2 years old. And yeah.
Well, another thing on the birth certificate too is I was born on February 19th, and it wasn't registered until like mid to late March. So that was kind of weird also, because I think it has to be done within 5 days. And I was born at Illinois Masonic Hospital. So, I mean, it's a Masonic hospital, so you never know what you're going to get there. Mm-hmm. So, but they've even gone as far, I took a 23andMe DNA test back in 2013, because I had people saying weird. I've had a lot of people just say strange things to me. So I took a genetic test trying to find out, you know, what the source of it all was. And I found out that I have 40% Iberian, 40% Scandinavian, 10% Nigerian, and 10% Native American. Now, my father is Puerto Rican and Spanish. and he's a Borgia. So all his DNA markers were there. But the 40% Scandinavian has none, I mean, it has part of my mother's DNA, but none of my grandmother's DNA markers, nothing else. There was no Italian, nothing, no Polish, nothing else. Mm-hmm. And people tell me that my family wasn't my family, and it never made sense because I always looked different anyway because I was half Spanish. Mm-hmm. So I never questioned a lot of this. But they had gone in when they started to take everything over, and they changed it and reconfigured my whole 23andMe DNA test to hide that 40% Scandinavian. So, yeah. So there's a mystery behind that, too. Mm-hmm. But that kind of goes into some other really weird realms, which we'll leave there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're desperate to cover a lot of things up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was interesting.
I'm so excited that we met, and that, you know, I think this is something that we can refine and actually use as a tool in some of these tort cases that we have in the port. And like I said, I'd love to get you in contact with Lotus Justice and and George Webb too, because this is great. It's awesome. What you've uncovered is amazing. You also have you have a YouTube channel, right?
I'm trying to get my YouTube channel back up. They destroyed the other one, so I'm in the process now of rebuilding a new one, and hoping that it doesn't get messed with. Uh-huh. They want to keep me as isolated as possible.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I kind of mentioned it briefly in my interview with George. You know, it's really, when you're isolated like this, you go crazy sometimes, and you're so scared to date or to meet someone because they actually send people in to mess with you.
Yeah, I've never had a boyfriend. All of them have been handlers. I found out every single person I've ever been with has been sent in.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah. So now I'm just like, oh my God. Forget it. So, but I like my own company anyway, so I don't see, when I was a kid, you couldn't ground me because I would just go in my room and be in my world. Like, if you wanted to upset me, you just send me outside. So that I don't really have a problem with the isolation. It's really creepy.
The whole thing is really creepy, and I'm like my own entertainment as well. I have a very active imagination and inner worlds. I guess that's one of the traits we develop, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because I think we're just naturally probably a little bit introverted anyway, because most of the people that this happens to are empaths. So, and they tend to be more introverted. So, yeah, I think it's one of the traits most of the time, not every time, but yeah.
Well, I mean, personally for me, that's why I like doing the radio show, because it allows me to be social without putting myself out there. Yeah. Yeah, and then we kind of control it, Yeah, I get it. We're going to be great friends. I can tell.
I think so too. And I love what you do on Zeph Daniels' show. He is amazing with the intricacies of this whole system.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he gets it. How nuts it really is. So I love it.
Yeah, and he really calls out the whole pathology, and yeah. Yeah, I adore both him and Trish Daniels, and I'm so grateful for being on their show and for the 20 on 20 campaign, which is to end human trafficking by the year 2020. That's the goal, and there's a website, human2020.com, if anybody's listening in and you want to take advantage of the new tax the taxes, the new Donald Trump taxes. You can donate. We're on human2020.com, and because we've got time by the year 2020, so that's coming up right around the corner.
Yeah.
Hi, Jacob Schuffler. Welcome to the show. Would you please email me? Of course I will email you. Thank you for tuning in. So yeah, does anybody have any questions that they want to ask my guest, my beautiful guest here? By the way, Jacob, you can reach me at portholetojustice@yahoo.com. So, well, is there anything else that you want to elaborate or share your Facebook page to, where they can research some of your materials?
Yeah, they can send me a friend request at my Facebook. It's Katrina Marie 1146 is a handle at the end. I'm a bit of a recluse. I kind of only have certain people on there, but I could make one that's probably public, in addition to it.
Uh-huh.
So I never planned on talking about this publicly. So
I think it's great. I think it's great. I welcome you to my foxhole. You're a part of the family now.
Yeah. I've been adopted.
You're very brave. You're very brave, and I commend your tenacity and your courage. You present very well, and I was tickled when I met you. I was like, oh my gosh, there's one of my people. So, yeah, thank you for coming on the show.
Having me.
Yeah, and you know what? As I think this is going to blow up, and as we progress and things get bigger, and you acquire some cases, we'll have you back.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for having me on.
You're so welcome. Everybody, this is Katrina Hagen, and you can find her on Facebook. I'm going to be featuring her content in the Porthole to Justice. Stand by, Katrina. Stay with me. Okay. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to wrap up the show. You can subscribe to the Porthole to Justice, the Window to the Truth, on Facebook. I have a blog where I'm more interactive with the public. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram. You can check out human2020.com. And it's Human 2020 all month long, everyone. And thank you so much, Jacob, for joining the show. You can tune in on Spreaker.com. You can subscribe to the show on Spreaker.com. It's absolutely free, and you can download the app. All right, guys, this has been another episode of Porthole to Justice, the Window to the Truth, off the cuff.
Football is here, and the games are on at Wing House Bar and Grill. Watch all the action with your friends and enjoy hot wings and perfectly poured cold beer. We have Budweiser and Bud Light draft pints for only $2.49 and buckets of 5 bottles for $12.99 every Saturday and Sunday. Get a taste of our limited time End Zone Eats menu with big, meaty pig wings. And nothing says game time more than a grilled bratwurst. This house was built on wings, cold beer, and football. Wing House Bar and Grill. Good food, beautifully served.